Sup guys, it's DJ New World and welcome back to another one video. This is a Netflix review over Big Mouth Season 3. But before I get into my thoughts on Season 3, let's go ahead and take you guys back in time when Big Mouth first came out. First season, you know, talked about going through the first season, they talked about a lot of stuff that middle schoolers and a lot of high schools go through nowadays. It's a very central show on the idea of that, kids go through shit too. And the fact that, that they did that was unheard of and it made it so popular. But then you got the, people that see this show and also think it's very gross, because there is at times, discussing things that goes in it on in the show and also random points of nudity. But the simple fact of the matter is when you look at it as a whole, you take a step back, watch it, and actually truly try to fully understand it. You understand the fact that this show is maybe a little bit exaggerated of some of the stuff it talks about, but it talks about a fundamental factor that kids go through stuff as well as adults. Their troubles may not seem as big to adults, it may seem insignificant, but you know, during middle school and high school, early parts of high school, you're going through that phase of finding yourself and the complexities of dealing with new emotions because at first you don't there's a point in time where you're going through life and you don't like different genders and stuff or like anybody in a sexual sense or romantic sense. And then you get to that point where you do, and that's pretty much the first season, them exploring romanticism and sexual attraction to another person. And then you get into the second season, which shows you the pretty much the aftermath of dealing with these high stake emotions, changing you as a person and you know going all over the place with these different emotions, like becoming very possessive and controlling, or telling people how they should and shouldn't be, how they should emotionally handle things, how they should act in certain situations, they should be confident, shouldn't be confident about certain things. And then like that constant back and forward is the middle school and high school experience. And right now they're talking about them as being in middle school. And also the third season is literally them at the end of middle school. And it's all this, back and forward emotional roller coaster that you have to go through. And that's essentially the first two seasons. Um, First season deals with emotional roller coasters. The second season like deals with, body changing and dealing with the aftermath of that. This third season takes it a little bit step further and fully explores some of the sexual spectrum stuff, which I appreciated because it was like very interesting to learn about different sexualities to me, because it's another thing that I need to emphasize in my videos is that when I get a chance is that there's something that we don't talk about, people's sexuality, and in grand scheme of things, like it doesn't matter at all what people think is okay, like with your sexuality, as long as you feel okay with yourself and comfortable with yourself. Um, uh, that's all you need. And that's literally, I believe that's the fourth episode of season 3 is they go through this sexual spectrum because, this awkward kid is going through the first two seasons, um, basically having sex with everything, which I find to be a little funny. But then you get into the second season where he's like imagining having sex with a guy or a girl and his sexual confusion with that. Then you get into the third season where a ghost, I don't know, explains to him like, oh yeah, there's different sexualities. There's a huge sexual spectrum, and the I think part of the reason why sexuality has become such a big thing in the huge sexual spectrum is because we're more interconnected via the internet. Because of the internet, we're able to talk about things and find people like us. And when you get into that mindset of you can talk to people, talk to different people who have the same mindset as you, you discover things. You get to talk about sexuality, and you know there's a negative aspect of it via people talking negative about your sexuality, but then you got the positive aspect talking to other people like you and finding out more about sexualities. And then when you get into that discussion, you notice that you know sexuality is not something that's cut and dry like straight or gay, and or or the third option, bisexual, is three of the main options that is literally discussed more often. Is that it's not just cut and dry. It's a full emotional spectrum, because your emotional state plus your sexual preference plus X, Y, and Z, it just fully discloses what you're interested in sexually and emotionally. And then it explains how do you go through that process. And then you get into later episodes where it's like who you should be attracted to. Um, uh, there's an episode where uh, his I forgot his name, is basically he's in love with his cousin. He think he's sexually attracted to his cousin, which I feel like nobody talks about it, but that's a thing for some reason that some people go through, that they get attracted to their cousin. I don't know. It's just something that we don't talk about, and it honestly happens. And then we get into you know the emotional chargedness of, because they ended the last episode on a bit of a cliffhanger. This without me spoiling anything. They ended on a cliffhanger because they got renewed for like 3 more seasons. So they're probably gonna go until the fifth season, fully exploring the story into high school. If they do that, I'll be generally happy, because the story it's in itself is a great story. It has a whole bunch of potential because it's talking about serious things, and it's also very aware of itself in the show, because they talk about one of the big things they talk about is within the show is each season, there's a little nod towards social media and how people have said that the show is disgusting or they like it or whatnot, and then there's like reference it. It's like, yeah, we notice, we see your concerns. It may seem disgusting to you, quote unquote, but something we need to talk about, like giving teenage girls the motive to not not the motive, the wherewithal, the strength to not be objectified. And then guys teaching them, telling them that, oh yeah, you're not animals. The people that tell you that you're animals is wrong. You have a brain, you can use it, use self-control. And then you that's the third season. But they start building on this idea of different things like self-control, sexuality, emotional spectrum, dealing with body changes. It's a very I want to say humane project, because in the grand scheme of things, it's something that we don't talk about as a community, as a whole, as a country, as several different countries. It's in most countries, you either avoid the topic altogether, or you know, ban relationships between like different sexualities. And that's the main reason why people come in this country as a whole, like the freedom to be whoever you want to be. And that's what the country was built on, and that's what I'm hoping for the future. And this series is pretty much putting that all into words, all into picture, into explainable story that you can understand. And it's a great story so far. And if you watch season 3, I hope you do. It's great. Go ahead. And I didn't know I'd making this video kind of late, because in the grand scheme of things, you could watch the whole season like I did in a matter of hours. And I kind of just didn't want to do it during the time it was mainstream, like the first day, because there's a lot of YouTubers that talk about it, and me doing it right off the bat with them it thins out the pool if I do it a little bit later. But with that being said, it's a great show. Watch through the first few seasons if you've never seen Big Mouth. Uh, then watch the third season, because it's not just simply a show just worth watching. It's a journey. Like and subscribe for more. DJ New World out. Peace.